BYU at Oregon. This game's 3:30 Eastern on Fox, following Nebraska, Oklahoma. Oregon 3.5-point favorite, over under 58. Oregon's a hard team for me to get a handle on. It's a new regime, a new quarterback in Bo Nix, a lot of other new pieces, and they got trucked by Georgia in the opener. Although they moved the ball a little, well, in early on in that game. Pretty high success rate against Georgia's defense, and then it just got out of hand. And then they played an FCS team. So it's like, okay, how much can I really take out of that, knowing that this was going to be a new offense, a new quarterback? So it's really hard for me to get a handle on them. And then BYU, they go out and they destroy South Florida. Some worrying signs there, but they just built too big of a lead. And then against Baylor, they pick up a huge win in a crazy game in multiple overtimes after a lot of missed kicks. I was most impressed they did it with their top two receivers. Chase Roberts had a huge game out of nowhere. So I don't know if you can rely on him again. I think, by the way, what you saw in that game is Baylor's offense is really limited from a skill position standpoint on the outside. And I think that's going to be a problem all year. Oregon, I think, is much more talented, but we have to see it in action here. This BYU, that spot last week was all BYU, and they did it without their top two receivers. They still can't run the ball at all. And this just screams Oregon spot. I want to get 3 or below, but there's just a lot of unknowns with Oregon still. And we don't know if BYU's top two receivers are going to play. They've come out and said it's a true game time decision. I think they 100% need them here. Sitake tends to be conservative with injuries to his players, so I would lean towards no, but I don't know. I've been wrong on their receivers all year. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I feel better about after that Baylor game that I took a Baylor under, and I cited the fact that they didn't have the skill position players to help shape and get over the hump in some of these games. But moving on to this one, that was a great BYU spot, but Jaren Hall does not have flying off the page numbers here. I mean, he's got as many turnover worthy plays as he does big time throws. He's a great game manager. He's the leader of the offense, but there's nothing flashy here. Not like a Bo Nix, who's having 5 TDs against Eastern Washington last week. And you got to remember, this Oregon team, I know the score was bad. They moved the ball great against Georgia. They were up and down the field. They just couldn't get in the end zone. They couldn't get any points whatsoever. So, BYU is off travel to Florida, big old physical game against Baylor at home. Now they're going into this kick, which is what, 12:30 local time? I mean, are they going to be awake? Are they going to be ready for this? And you're right, Gunnar Romney, Puka Nacua, the word is they look a lot better, but they're considered day-to-day and they're game time decisions. That's bad news. BYU needs them. Oregon does not have a single defender on the defense that has forced an incompletion yet this year. That back seven has been a little soft with the schedule they've had so far. I know Georgia's tough. Stetson Bennett tore them up, but they didn't even have a forced incompletion last week against Eastern Washington. So, even if BYU doesn't get their 2 best receivers back, Chase Roberts should have some more explosive targets in there. But I think the thing that I love the over in this game, it's been a little bit stagnant. I can see that everybody else is on the over, but when you look at Oregon and BYU on defense, 13 of 17 opponent red zone attempts so far have ended in a touchdown. These teams are letting everybody score a TD. Both of them are terrible defensive finishing drives right now. This is a thing where I think Bo Nix, who has crazy home road splits, like a baseball pitcher, like a Coors Field baseball pitcher, he's just got crazy home road splits. We'll see if that works out at Autzen, but they're going to have more explosive players on the outside. They're going to have more explosive plays down the field. I'm not sure this BYU defense doesn't come in tired or not ready for a 12:30 game, but I like the over here. If I feel like BYU's not going to hold up their part, I'll try to get out of it live. You're right. Oregon is the side, it's the spot. And if BYU doesn't have their top 2 skill position players, then they're just going to get run out of Autzen.